How y'all doing? I'm Matt Dinerman, track announcer here at Oaklawn Park, the final edition of Out of the Starting Gate with Matt Dinerman, sponsored by Oaklawn Park here. A bittersweet time. We've got great racing this week. Of course, it is Kentucky Derby week, but on the other side of the token, last week of racing here at Oaklawn before our next season all the way in December, which feels like a long time away, but realistically, it's not that far away. It'll come before you know it. We've got a lot of ground to cover here on this show, so let's get to it. A lot of good racing this week. For the racing fans, you're going to love it. Kentucky Derby week, of course, at Churchill Downs in Louisville, Kentucky. We've got great racing here to really finish things off with a bang this season here at Oaklawn Park. We'll go over the Kentucky Derby. We'll go over the Kentucky Oaks. We'll go over some things you might have missed from last week and also Oaklawn Handicap Week a couple of weeks ago. Major stakes race action here at Oaklawn Park. We're going to go over plenty of those stakes races, and I've got a Denny's Clocker pick for you to wrap things up this meeting here at Oaklawn and Out of the Starting Gate, our first season this year here at Oaklawn. Without further ado, let's get to it. We're going to roll through this thing. Kentucky Derby, a field of 20 signed on in the race. Number 21, Baeza, who ran second in the Santa Anita Derby. He is on the outside looking in, trying to get into the field if a defection occurs by Saturday morning. Let's look at this field here. Your morning line favorite is Journalism. He draws post position number 8 for Michael McCarthy and Umberto Rispoli. I'm not going out on a limb because he's my top pick in this race. I think he's a very, very good horse. I think he's the best horse in the race. He showed us some adversity last time out as you take a look at the Santa Anita Derby replay. You didn't see it here. It happened right before the start of this replay. He had some trouble into the far turn. There was a horse on the lead who was pressing the pace setter, and he was backing up into Journalism, and Journalism was in a bad spot. Had to steady sharply, wheel outside of that horse, so he lost momentum, was able to regain it, and down the lane ran down Baeza, who again is on the also eligible list in the Kentucky Derby this year and post 21 currently, hoping to draw into the race. Journalism, he's got the pedigree to like more distance, but I think more importantly, he looks like a horse that can relish the 1.25 miles. He draws a pretty good post position here in the Kentucky Derby, which is a positive. Obviously, this was a small field. He got in some trouble in the Santa Anita Derby with that small field. Now he's got a giant field, the biggest field he'll ever see, with 19 other foes in there. He's going to have to work out a good trip with Umberto Rispoli, but Journalism is my pick in this year's Kentucky Derby, and I think the deserved morning line favorite and the deserved one to beat in the Kentucky Derby this year. I also like a price horse. I don't think we're going to get this high of a price, 30-1 on the morning line with number 3, Final Gambit for Brad Cox, the only Brad Cox starter in the race. Tapan Street, the Florida Derby winner for Brad Cox. He was entered in this race, or was about to enter in the race, I should say, never actually made the body of the field. He had a workout, suffered a condylar fracture. He's going to be okay. He's going to have surgery, and in all likelihood, they say if the surgery goes well, then he'll be able to race again to Pan Street, but he will not be running in the Kentucky Derby, and with that, Brad Cox just has this lone entrant, Final Gambit, who has never run on dirt before, even though he has dirt pedigree. He broke his maiden 2 starts ago at Turfway Park, came back and won the Jeff Ruby Stakes at Turfway in impressive fashion from off the pace. He's going to get a pace to run into. And also, this horse, he looks like he himself will very much enjoy the 10-furlong Kentucky Derby distance. So Journalism's my top pick. Final Gambit, also one that I think is very interesting at, on the morning line, a massive price, 30-1. We need, of course, to discuss horses going into the Kentucky Derby that have run here at Oaklawn Park. And let's start with the Arkansas Derby trio, the top 3 finishers. Sandman, Publisher, Cole Battle, first, second, and third in the Arkansas Derby. They are all back in the Kentucky Derby this year. Here comes the replay here. A very fast pace was set by Cornucopian and Speed King, and that really set it up for all these horses who ran on from off the pace. Sandman eventually getting the jump on Publisher, and he gets the victory. Cole Battle ran third in this race. Ran a very respectable race, I thought, but was just third best. Tried to get the jump on Sandman and Publisher, and they ran by him. We'll start with Sandman, a horse that obviously has ability. They've always thought highly of him. They bought him for a lot of money, the connections for $1.2 million. And this horse here is one that has been really a project for trainer Mark Cassey, and he really put it all together last time out in the Arkansas Derby. He got the perfect setup, I will say that. But this time around, he's going to get a fast pace again. there are better horses in this race. When you look at a horse like Journalism, it's a big field. He's a bit of a green horse. You see in this replay here, you just saw it that he was trying to drift out when he was under the left-handed crop. So that's something that maybe some folks will worry about. But the setup could possibly be right again for Sandman, and he, no doubt, is just going to get better as the distances get longer. Publisher, the 13th maiden ever to compete in the Kentucky Derby. You heard that right. Publisher has yet to actually win a race. He ran second in a maiden race here in Arkansas behind American Promise, who coincidentally also is in the Kentucky Derby this year, and Publisher was second best. But this horse has run well in prep races, including in the Arkansas Derby when second best. Flavian Pratt rides Neo Equos for trainer Safi Joseph Jr. Unless Baeza gets into the race, then his first preference is Baeza. But Irad Ortiz Jr., he'll have the mount for Steve Asmussen in the Kentucky Derby with Publisher, who draws post 13. Sandman post 17 to be ridden once again. He was ridden last time out in the Arkansas Derby by Jose Ortiz. Coal Battle, he is a very cool horse, probably the best storyline in the Kentucky Derby this year for trainer Lonnie Briley. Small-time connections, Juan Vargas back aboard his regular rider. I personally would love to see this horse run well in this race. The one thing I'm concerned about with him, I just don't know if a mile and a quarter is going to suit him. I just wonder if maybe he's better at a mile and a 16th. Maybe mile and an eighth might be as far as he wants to go. I watch him run like a horse that maybe a mile and a quarter isn't necessarily the type of distance he wants. He's a good horse. He's a hard trier, and he's the type of horse that's going to go off at a big number. And he's probably going to at least outfinish a number of horses just because he tries hard. But I feel that he is an outsider to win this race or even hit the board for that matter. I like him. I would love to see Lonnie Briley get a big win here once again. Of course, Coal Battle won the Rebel Stakes here and also the Smarty Jones at Oaklawn. So a lot of people, not only at Oaklawn but around the country, will be pulling for Coal Battle, but I just don't know if it's in the cards for him. He will get the right setup from off the pace, though, and Coal Battle draws post position number 16. We mentioned American Promise coming from Oaklawn Park, maiden winner here. He won the Virginia Derby at a one-turn race, a route race, but that track a little bit oddly configured, and those longer races, a mile and a 16th, they are going one turn, and this horse won for fun that day, but it was on a speed bias track, and on top of that, it was one turn, a different type of configuration, and now he's going a mile and a quarter. He's one that likes to be close. There's other pace in the race with him, so American Promise, I think, will be a price, as he probably should be. Was no match in a race here, the Southwest, when he ran here in January, and then also ran in the Fairgrounds event, the LeCompte, and didn't do much there either. And those two races were two turns. So American Promise, he's going to be a price in the Derby. Also Steve Asmussen, who is going to be our leading trainer here at Oaklawn. We'll talk about that in a little bit. He also saddles Tistastic, winner of the Louisiana Derby, a mile and a 3/16 prep race. So the only prep race we see for the Derby that's a mile and 3/16, the same distance as the Preakness. And this horse, as Steve has mentioned, just got better with distance. So even though he had not run particularly fantastic here at Oaklawn, he hadn't run bad, but he hadn't been able to win in the Rebel and the Southwest. I think that the distance is really the key with him, and he's going to get a fast pace to run into it. So I think both of Steve's horses, Tistastic and Publisher, have a realistic chance to do some good work in the Kentucky Derby. 20 horses, post time for that race, 6:57 Eastern time. That's Kentucky time. So here in Hot Springs, 5:57 approximate post for this year's Kentucky Derby, the 151st Derby. One day earlier, though, at Churchill Downs, the Kentucky Oaks for 3-year-old fillies set to contest a mile and an eighth. A full field signed on in the gate, and there's no doubt who the horse to beat is in this race. Good cheer for the Brad Cox barn, a Godolphin homebred that hasn't done anything wrong in her career to date as you take a look at the field here. She draws a decent post, I think, post 11. You don't want to be too much farther out, but I think 11 is fine for her with Luis Saez coming off a nice win in the Fairgrounds Oak. She is undefeated. They have yet to finish ahead of her at the finish line. That could possibly change on Kentucky Oaks Day. Needs to work out a good trip from post 11. I wouldn't say it's the best post. I wouldn't say it's a bad post either. I think 11 is about as far out as you want to be in post position land here in the Kentucky Oaks. She's the one to beat. I think Quiet Side is intriguing. I think that race we saw last time out in the Fantasy, and also the Honeybee on Rebel Day. I think both of those races were very strong as we take a look now at Quiet Side's win over Simply Joking in the fantasy here, and both runners are entered back in the Kentucky Oaks. Here's the one thing about Quiet Side that's a little bit of a concern. Draws post position 14 in the Kentucky Oaks. And while she's shown versatility, she can stalk the pace, work out a good trip. She's got tactical speed, has a really nice running style. I just think that Quiet Side is in a tough spot, and it's a tough ask to beat all these very good fillies going from post position 14. It's been done before, but we all know that Johnny Ortiz, if he could pick his post position, it certainly wouldn't have been post 14. She's 8-1 on the morning line, and I think that morning line's a little bit higher than maybe we might have anticipated because of the poor post position. I think she's the legit second or third best filly in the race, but I think the post position is her main concern. She runs her best race. She probably can be around, but she has that bad post. So that's the biggest concern I have with her. I do think Simply Joking, who ran second in our fantasy stakes here at Oaklawn Park, is one that very much could have a major say in the Kentucky Oaks this year. I thought her last race was very, very good. She broke her maiden in a stake first time out, sprinting, and then came back and won a stake at the fairgrounds, took a couple months off, came back in the fantasy off the break for trainer Whit Beckman, and did everything but win the race. Ran a huge race over a legit Kentucky Oaks contender in Quiet Side. So if Simply Joking getting those points here in the fantasy helped propel her into the Kentucky Oaks, if she can run a little bit better second start in the form cycle, then she's got every right to run a really, really good race. I will say, though, she probably was cranked as much as Whit Beckman could have cranked her up given the circumstances in the fantasy because she needed points to the Kentucky Oaks. She needed to run well in order to enter the Kentucky Oaks. So with that in mind, some may see the fantasy as a prep for the Kentucky Oaks. I don't necessarily see it like that. She needed to run her A-plus race to run really well, and surely I thought she ran her A-plus race. There's potential for her to step forward. She's only run 3 times. She's lightly raced, and again, that was coming off a little bit of a break, but if she can run a little bit better, I think Simply Joking at 10-1 on the morning line is legit to run well in the Kentucky Oaks. We also have to mention Mark Casse. Of course, he trains Sandman, the winner of our Arkansas Derby. Mark having a string here at Oaklawn with assistant Caden Arthur, and Mark will be represented in the Kentucky Oaks by Lacara, who has been very impressive. She won the Central Bank Ashland Stakes at Keeneland a few weeks back in very nice style, defeating none other than Take Charge My Lady, a stake winner here who won the Martha Washington at Oaklawn for Kenny McPeak. She ran second. Take Charge My Lady also entered in the Kentucky Oaks. Lacara, she's figuring to get play. She's the second choice on the morning line at 6-1 for the Casse barn. So Mark Casse's got a strong group of 3-year-olds this year. He has a lot of horses. That's to be expected. But Lacara, a legit contender in the Kentucky Oaks. Sandman, obviously a major player in the Kentucky Derby. Those are your main players in the Kentucky Oaks. That's on Friday afternoon, the Kentucky Oaks. Let's shift gears to Hot Springs, Arkansas, shall we? We'll start with our feature, What You Might Have Missed. We're going to go over a couple of stakes races and events last week and also the Oaklawn Handicap. And why not? Let's go with the Oaklawn Handicap. First mission a couple weeks ago, getting the job done for Brad Cox and Godolphin. The same connections of good cheer in the Kentucky Oaks. And first mission with Flavian Pratibord got a 109 buyer for this win in the Oaklawn Handicap. Ran a really good race over Banishing, who just keeps running massive races for David Jacobson. We're going to actually see him on Saturday in the Grade 1 7-furlong $1 million Churchill Downs Stakes. Cutting back to one turn is Banishing. But first mission for the Cox stable getting the win. They'd always been pointing for this race. It was his second start off a layoff. Ran better than first start off the break, went third, narrowly beaten in the Razorback on Rebel Day. First mission, Brad Cox relaying the daily racing form. He noted, if this horse can run races like that, we're looking to get a Grade 1, couple of Grade 1s on the resume for first mission. So expect to see him possibly in a race like the Stephen Foster at Churchill Downs in June. That's probably a legit target and a realistic spot for first mission, our 2025 Oaklawn Handicap winner. Also, this past week, we saw a big upset in the stakes division for fillies and mares. The Dig a Diamond Stakes for fillies and mares going a mile, and Majestic Oops with Abel Cedillo getting the job done at 9-1, surprising the 3-5 favorite Hoosier filly in the Dig a Diamond Stakes, the last stakes race here for filly and mare routers, and in the $200,000 event. Majestic Oops got the jump on Hoosier Philly, who got boxed behind horses, but she had every chance to run by Majestic Oops and just couldn't do it. Abel Cedillo, big day for him. Earlier in the week, he won 3 races, and that particular afternoon, Majestic Oops winning the Dig a Diamond was probably the second biggest event in Abel's life that day because his 3rd son was born that morning before Majestic Oops' victory. So we congratulate Abel Cedillo not only on a big day Saturday, but just a good week overall. Not only at the racetrack, but in the world outside in his life as well. Majestic Oops for Dan Ward. I would imagine we're going to see her at Monmouth Park, where I'll be heading to next week in New Jersey, where Dan is stabled in the summertime. Or there's a lot of tracks there. He could also ship Majestic Oops for a stake in New York, maybe at Delaware Park, Laurel Park. So Dan's got options for this filly and mare type of runner here, Majestic Oops, who will be running in Stakes Company down the road, surely. Another thing last week that happened, 2 real major storylines that come out of this race. The Natural State Breeders' Stakes for Arkansas-bred filly and mare routers here. Lassie My Girl for Pee Wee Melton Wilson winning the Natural State Breeders' Stakes. Here's the replay here. Ricardo Santana Jr. was aboard, and with this win, Ricardo Santana Jr. picked up career victory number 2,000 as a jockey, and obviously many of those wins have come right here at Oaklawn Park. Ricardo Santana Jr., I've said it before, is a talent. He's as good as anybody out there in the United States in terms of physical raw ability as a jockey. Has won his 2,000th win, and with that, surely we're going to see a lot more wins and visits to the winner's circle for Ricardo, and also plenty of them surely will be right here at Oaklawn Park next season as well. He's got a number of live mounts this week as well before he will actually be shipping his tack to New York for the summer to ride at Belmont and Aqueduct, and then later on Saratoga Racecourse in the summertime. That's our final segment of what you might have missed for this past couple weeks here at Oaklawn Park. Moving forward, transitioning to this week, we've got a number of stakes races this week, and we're going to kick things off talking about the Bachelor Stakes. $175,000 the pot there for 3-year-old sprinters, and the headliner in the race is Kale's Angel. 8 to 5 on the morning line has been very impressive and returns to Oaklawn for one more race this season. He won the Advent Stakes on opening day last December when he was a 2-year-old, came back and won the Renaissance Stakes, and most recently shipped his form to synthetic at Turfway and won the Animal Kingdom Stakes at one turn. This horse, for trainer Peter Miller, is clearly one that wants to go one turn. He's a one-turn type of horse. They tried him in the Smarty Jones. He ran an okay for race, finished in the money, but didn't have the kick that we saw him display in the one-turn races. So we're going to see this horse, Kale's Angel, this time around going one turn in the final 3-year-old sprint race of the season, the Bachelor Stakes. There is one horse that's on the up and up, and his name is Baby Boat, one of 2 runners for Double Down Stables and trainer Jimmy DeVito. They also campaign Amor Patrie, who's entered to run in the Bachelor. Let's take a look at Baby Boat's last race. He ran down his stablemate, Big Boat, for a DeVito Exacta here. He was coming from off the pace, and this horse got a real fast pace to run into, so things worked out for him. But Baby Boat is a horse that I think is getting a little bit better as time has gone on, and off that win, a confidence booster for him. They paid a good amount of money for him. Maybe Baby Boat can do some good work in the Bachelor, but no doubt these are the 2 horses you're going to want to pay attention to, Kale's Angel and Baby Boat. There are others in here. It's a field of 9 signed on. Steve Asmussen has actually supplemented a couple of contenders here, including recent maiden winner Bye Bye Miles. Max got excited, cuts back after an okay finish in the Hot Springs. He's not a router. He doesn't have the route pedigree, but finished behind Clever again for the Asmussen barn. We're going to see Clever again, and I think he's going to be a major player in this race, the Preakness, in a couple weeks. But that's the field for the Bachelor. Your main contenders, Kale's Angel and Baby Boat. We go to race number 8 on Friday as well. Of course, the Bachelor is earlier in the card on Friday afternoon. Race 8 on Friday is the $200,000 Lake Hamilton Stakes, and there's one name that sticks out in here for the sprinters, Skelly. That's right, a 2-time Count Fleet handicap winner, was coming off a layoff last time out in an allowance race. Let's take a look at this. Skelly just demolished the competition here. He's the class of the race. He's the speed of the speed, and he really showed it last time. But he showed us that he's as good as ever, maybe even better than what we saw from him last year when he ran terrific races. A very consistent horse. That allowance race that we're seeing on the screen here is a perfect setup race for the Lake Hamilton. He's going to be tough. He's clearly the fastest horse in the race, and his morning line is 2 to 5. So that tells you right there that on paper, he looks like a standout, and that would be an understatement. That's the Lake Hamilton race number 8 on Friday afternoon. We go to Saturday, closing day, 12 races on Saturday, huge fields, over 11 horses a race signed on there. The final race that we run here at Oaklawn every year, the Trails End, it's a starter allowance at 1 3/4, got a full field of 14, no also eligibles. If they all stay in, we're running all 14 there. And this race here, the Arkansas Breeders' Championship Stakes, really continues that trend of big field sizes. 13 horses in this race, and Ron Moquett saddles 3 of them. He's gotten a very strong Arkansas bred division in his last few years here at Oaklawn. And 110 Stadium, who draws the rail with Rafael Bejarano, he's the horse to beat after getting a 91 buyer and a specialized starter allowance for Arky bred last time out. 110 Stadium in this race, I think probably will be favored off that race. He obviously can route. We've also got from the Moquett stable a couple of other good horses. Burlsworth, he's run well routing. He did not run well last time out, but he returns in this spot with Isaac Castillo, who will be riding for the first time in there for the Moquett barn, one of 3 entrants in the race for the Moquett barn. We also have a Lockmore, a horse that hasn't shown his best form this year. We saw better form from him last year. He has entered routing today, and I think that this horse will appreciate getting to a little bit longer distance. Hoppin' John off the claim by End Zone Athletics and Abel Ramirez Rodriguez, a horse that I think can do some damage in here. This barn does well when they claim horses, not just first out, but also second and third out. And this horse here gets to the route game. We saw him win decisively in a route event here earlier in the year. So the Arkansas Breeders' Championship Stakes is definitely one that you're going to want to pay attention to. That's race number 9 on the Saturday card with 12 races, closing day Saturday here at Oaklawn. Race 11, the final stake of the meeting, is the $200,000 Lake Ouachita Stakes. A field of 8 in here, and this is a good field when you look at the main contenders. Let's take a look at the field assembled here. Saudi Crown, second in the Oaklawn Mile, finds an easier group this time around for trainer Brad Cox. This horse has always been well regarded. I thought he ran a really good race in the Oaklawn Mile and was simply second best to Banishing, who continued his good form, as I mentioned earlier in the show, when he went on to run second in the Oaklawn Handicap, going 1 1/8. Here's Saudi Crown's race in the Oaklawn Mile, where he got run down by Banishing. No excuses, second best. But second best to a very good horse, and second best to probably a horse that's a lot faster and certainly better in recent form than any of the horses that Saudi Crown runs against in the Lake Ouachita on Saturday afternoon. Abel Cedillo will be aboard this one for the first time for the Cox stable, and Saudi Crown, he's gray and he likes to be on the lead. So it'll be easy to spot him. Drawn inside, draws the rail. He's going to go from the onset. Of course, we've mentioned in a past show, Mystic Dan will be returning in the Lake Ouachita. He's number 8, drawn outside for Kenny McPeak and Robbie Alvarado. This horse has been working well here. We showed you a workout video of Mystic Dan a couple weeks ago, and he easily outworked Relampago Verde, who came back to run second in a high-level allowance race. Mystic Dan working very well for this race. The question is, can he run back to his best form? Because we know he likes Oaklawn Park. He won the Southwest here in the slop. Was third in the Arkansas Derby with a rough trip. But I'm thinking Mystic Dan can run better here at Oaklawn Park off this freshening after 2 poor efforts. The Malibu Stakes going 7 furlongs wasn't ideal for him, going 1 turn against fast horses, and he had to ship in a van across the country. Then he went all the way across the country to the Pegasus World Cup and faced a tough group there. Didn't do much. Freshens up, finds a much easier field. Saudi Crown is no slouch by any means, but Mystic Dan is one that on his best day can be around. And he, of course, won the Kentucky Derby last year. So Mystic Dan, he is running on the first Saturday in May this year, once again, a year removed from that Kentucky Derby victory, but it's not in Louisville, Kentucky. It's right here in Arkansas. I'm imagining a lot of people are going to want to come out and see him. Mystic Dan, if you are in the area, you want to come out for Derby Day festivities, good racing here, and also to see a Kentucky Derby winner live in Mystic Dan. Finally, Awesome Aaron, we need to note him because he comes off a dominant win where he got a 104 buyer. Let's take a look at this. Christian Torres was aboard. He's in Kentucky on Saturday. Rafael Bejarano signed to ride on this one here on closing day. This was an eye-popping win. Now, he wheels back in 3 weeks for the Lake Ouachita. The theory of the bounce theory is in play here, suggesting a horse runs a big race, they wheel back quickly, and then they regress off their big effort. That's a possibility. He's also facing tougher company. But if Awesome Aaron can find that good form and run like he did last time out, then who's to say he can't beat this field? Even Saudi Crown and Mystic Dan, who are clearly classier horses on paper, Awesome Aaron was just that awesome last time out. So it'll be fun to see how this Norm Cassie trainee does in the Stanks ranks on Saturday. It's race 11 on Saturday. And then, of course, race 12 will be the Trails and Stakes. So we're just going to go over now Thursday, our next live racing day. We do have racing on Thursday. First post 12:30 on a 9-race program. Friday afternoon, we have 12 races on Kentucky Oaks Day. Of course, the Kentucky Oaks in Kentucky, but we call it Kentucky Oaks Day here at Oaklawn as well. First post will be about noon. And then on Saturday, 12 more races. First post noon, closing day Saturday. It's going to be a lot of fun. We've got all sorts of good stuff here. The infield to be open. We've got the Bago Championship, a craft drink festival. It's going to be a lot of fun here, and we're going to have a lot of people on track for Kentucky Derby Day at Oaklawn, and also closing day here at Oaklawn Park. Let's talk about a couple of major storylines before I give you my clocker pick of the day here. We're going to start with the jockey standings, and this week we had a swap in the leader for the top jockey. Francisco Arrieta continuing a roll here. He now has 59 wins at the current meeting and leads Christian Torres, our two-time defending champion, in the jockey standings by 56 wins. Rafael Bejarano behind them with 53 wins. Tyler Bacon fourth in the standings, but Francisco Arrieta, he will be riding here all week. He also hops aboard Mystic Dan for the first time for the McPeak Barn. Christian Torres will be here Thursday and Friday. He rides in Kentucky on Saturday on Kentucky Derby Day. And Rafael Bejarano, he's only going to be here on Saturday. He rides in Kentucky Thursday and Friday. We'll see him Saturday. So by the looks of it, based on numbers, it looks like Francisco Arrieta's got a very, very good shot. He's very, very close to getting it, picking up that first career jockey title here at Oaklawn Park for the 2024-25 season. On the trainer front, Steve Asmussen has won this training title many times. He's just got so many horses, so many starters, and that's why it's tough to beat him at this division. But he has 44 wins at the current meeting, clear of Ron Moquette with 34 wins. Ron's had an outstanding meeting, and so is Kenny McPeak with 28 trips to the winner's circle. But Steve Asmussen, he leads the trainer standings, and I would say at this point that he is a winner in the trainer standings division. Francisco Arrieta, I think he's going to be tough to run down here in the last week, but things can happen. There are still jockeys within range of him. Christian Torres and maybe even Rafael Bejarano would have to have a big day Saturday, and Francisco Arrieta would have to basically not win anything in order for Bejarano to have a shot at winning that title. And Christian Torres would be one that couldn't have won a race if Rafael was to win that jockey title. So it seems like Francisco Arrieta, Christian Torres are battling it out, and Francisco's got the edge right now. One more clocker pick of the season for you. We've had some success in this front here. The clocker pick of the day, and let's get to it. Pahojo de Oro for the Phil Diamato barn is my clocker pick. Denny's Clocker special here. Let's take a look at this workout. This horse runs in race 6 on Thursday, a maiden special weight for fillies and mares at 6 furlongs. She is a filly, purchased for $500,000. Her first race, if you take a look at it, go on your RTN account maybe, ExpressBet, Twin Spires, DRF account. You can find replays of all horses, and Pahojo de Oro is one that had a horrendous trip first time out. But that's not the reason I like this filly. Really caught me as a runner when she worked here a month and a half or two ago, and I watched her first workout that we had on Oaklawn.com, and she worked like a really nice filly and just really caught my eye, and since then she's been working well. This is a rather sharp half mile leading up to this run, but she's doing it well within herself, and Pahojo de Oro is one that I think off the layoff here for Phil Diamato, she can run very, very well in race 6 on Thursday afternoon. Folks, it has been a pleasure. First of all, thank you to Chelsea, my partner in crime here, Chelsea Sinclair from the social media team. She's done a fantastic job editing this and making this what it is, the final product for you fans. So Chelsea, really our star here. She's the MVP for this show. We appreciate Oaklawn Park, our sponsor, for being able to support this product. It has been a great 14 shows of Out of the Starting Gate. Our special guests, we've had plenty of them: Cody Cotto, Richard Migliori, Eric Asmussen, Johnny Ortiz, Tammy Hornsby, Ray Briner, and they have done a great job in not only being able to take their time to spend with us, but also giving us a lot of good insight during our time here on Out of the Starting Gate. Jose Santos Jr., another very good jockey agent. He's another one that we've had on the show. And finally, to the fans, thank you for tuning in to Out of the Starting Gate, sponsored by Oaklawn Park, along with our races here at Oaklawn. It's been a great season. Next year, go to oaklawn.com. You can find our racing schedule there for next year. We're going to have a little bit of a different setup. December, we're going to run a holiday meet in December. After the first weekend in January, we're going to take a little bit of time off there, about 3 weeks after the Smarty Jones. And then when we come back, 4 days a week for the remainder of the meeting from late January all the way until Kentucky Derby weekend. That's next season. It's right around the corner. It feels like a long ways off, but it'll be right around the corner, and we'll be back here on the desk before you know it, hopefully giving you guys a lot of good insight into next year's season. But we thank you, the fan, for supporting our product here at Oaklawn Park. It's been a great year, but we've got one more week to go. Kentucky Derby week, of course, at Churchill Downs. Not only the Kentucky Derby and Kentucky Oaks, we've got Torpedo Anna on Friday, our Apple Blossom winner and Azeri champion. She runs in the La Troyenne on Friday. We mentioned Banishing's a horse on Saturday that's done great work here at Oaklawn. He's going to be running in the Grade 1 Churchill Downs. A number of Oaklawn raced horses running in Kentucky this weekend in big races, so you want to make sure to pay attention to that. Folks, we're going to sign off. Thank you for your support. It's been a great meet, and we'll see you in December for another edition of Out of the Starting Gate with Matt Dinerman, presented by Oaklawn, and we'll see you in December for another live race meet.